Now let's get into this movie.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's so good. It makes me so happy inside.
It's a pretty feel-good
It's
flick.
all the emotions.
Yeah, that's like anytime I think about how to describe it, I'm like, that's not enough. It really just runs the gamut of like it makes you feel everything at some point.
I know. I was crying so hard.
Yeah, I cried at the end.
Oh.
I didn't even expect it. Like that's not usually the kind of stuff I cry to, but I think the film just endeared me to it so much that I was ready to just buy whatever it sold
I know.
me.
I was like, I don't care. Everything's amazing. I don't care.
And I can't. That's like one of my favorite things for a crying person to say.
I don't even care.
I don't even care.
Make it stop.
Obviously, you do because you're crying. But
It's called
we're-
Summer Wars.
yeah, Summa. It is a 2009 anime film directed by Mamoru Hosoda, which you might have heard his name around. His new film, The Boy and the Beast, is coming out soon, and he also did The Girl Who Leapt Through Time as well as Wolf Children. Other films people have only great things to say about that I haven't seen yet, but I'm sure we'll be watching and talking about on this show eventually.
And for my One Piece fans, he also directed the 6th One Piece movie, which is really amazing and totally has his style all over it. It's a really great
didn't
movie.
he bring back one of the punches in this movie? From that movie?
Oh, like in the climax, that climax punch?
Yeah.
I was getting a very like that's how Luffy punches people.
Yeah.
With his entire body from a mile away.
Yeah, I think that was intentional or something, but yeah. So this film is it's called Summer Wars. It takes place in the summer, and it's about a internet war, kind of.
A lot of war games.
Yeah.
And it's that like kind of basic themes of like, there's all this like disaster and war going on, but it's all taking place on computers, and everybody else is just like out having a milkshake, and nobody's getting bombed or anything.
Yeah.
But they're gonna.
Yeah, and also there's no Matthew Broderick. Instead, we have Kazuma Iizawa, a much better replacement for Matthew Broderick, outside of Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, that's the only
Matthew Broderick was in War Games.
Yes, I agree that is the only time I like my Matthew Broderick as well. See, this film is famous for, a lot of people call it like the Digimon the movie, rip-off the movie. Partly, it's the same director who directed that, what's the name of that particular...
Our War Game.
Our War Game.
So, he knows what his influences are.
No, definitely. We'll get into that. But, the Our World Game segment of the Digimon movie, same guy, and it has a similar premise, and the aesthetic within the cyber universe is pretty much the same from that movie, only there are no Digimon. But
the avatars are basically Digimon.
They're literally digital monsters.
Kazuma's guy is like, I think, is like, I'm just gonna make Gargamon again.
Yeah.
I had to actually work really hard to remember Gargamon's name. I was like, Garugamon?
I forgot.
I don't
Gargamon's
remember
name completely.
any of their names.
Gargamon was cool. He was a bunnyman with a Gatling gun
Oh
for
yeah,
an
and the
arm.
pants. Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, he had cool pants.
Oh, he had 2 Gatling guns. I forgot.
Yeah, he had one on each freaking hand.
Anyway, this movie isn't Digimon. That might be disappointing to you, I'm sorry. I think what makes it different from Our War Game, from what I remember, is that Our War Game was, it was pretty much all about what was going on inside of the interwebs and that crazy crap, because that's where all the Digimon were, so that's where you wanted to be most of the time. Whereas in this movie, you're actually not in the internet that much. You spend most of the time in the real world with these characters. And the basic premise is that it's the far future of 2010, which was only a
this
year after...
This movie was made in 2009!
I know. And now the internet has been replaced with this thing called Oz, which You have an account and it links you to literally everything you could possibly think of. Your phone, your computer, your house, your business, your stocks,
Your DS.
your DS, your uh, the
Your-
water
So, I don't know
system
what-
control. Like, it's just literally everything.
So basically, they turned the entire internet into a single social media website.
Exactly.
The entire world into the internet, almost. Like, everything
I
is...
mean, the internet is the entire
yeah,
world.
but everything is controlled by the same internet. And your avatar is the key to accessing every single profile, every single facet of your virtual life, including parts of your non-virtual life, like your business. So it's pretty crazy.
It's like if EVE Online was real and not extremely tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Because
compared to
like businesses
Second Life,
happen.
I think.
Yeah, that's... I
Yeah,
think
but it's like
that's
one
kind
and a
of
half
like the-
life because it's connected to the real one.
Yeah.
Instead of like you make some new fake business selling like virtual dildos or whatever the fuck.
You can make a lot of money selling virtual dildos on Second Life.
I wonder if that was an ignorant thing to say. I don't know a goddamn thing about Second Life.
Absolutely not.
It's not. I once read an article about a guy who made virtual
If you're
lingerie.
if you're selling dildos on Second Life and you're not self-aware, shut up. I have no sympathy for you.
So we've got this, backdrop of Oz, which I choose to believe stands for online zone.
It's an illusion.
I mean, I know I want it to be both.
Okay.
I mean,
There was unless I missed all of it, there was very little Wizard of Oz imagery that I saw.
No, but it just comes from.
it's a wonderful world.
Okay. Yeah, the imagery is actually based on a Japanese artist named Takashi Murakami. Like, he does a lot of like that main sculpture in the hub of Oz. Like, he's done sculptures that look just like that. Like, he does this really kind of wacky, whimsical stuff.
That's also like very clean and stark looking.
Yeah.
So, you got this new internet, and then you've got this. Our main character is I forget his name. Kenji
Koiso.
Who's his high school student. The movie opens up with him and his friend Takashi. Not that important. Doing like some work in Oz. Like they've got a job that is like doing some back end programming in Oz. Like this is how big of a thing it is. And a student like who I assume is supposed to be like the hottest girl in school, not
An
Suki.
upperclassman.
Yeah. It's like, hey, any of you dumb fucks want a job? And she ends up taking Kenji to her grandmother's place for her 90th birthday, saying she needs some help, but she doesn't explain what until they get there. And so it's like this big family reunion of this really, big and apparently high-profile Japanese family. There's a lot of like Japanese familial politics going on in here that I just kind of had to gloss over because I'm like, I'm never gonna get this.
Really? Like, what kind of stuff? I don't know. It felt pretty universal to me if you had a big family. What, you mean like when they were talking about the history of their family?
I guess, and like they're talking about like branch families, and I'm like,
I feel like branch family, I would assume those are family, like the in-laws' extended family. So like you marry into the family and it's their family.
Well, and they get there, it is revealed that the reason why Natsuki brought him along is because she needs him to pretend to be her fiance. So it's like, oh, we're doing this sitcom thing. And for a little bit we are. And but like, one thing I liked about it is that we don't do that for that long.
Because her family's not dummies.
Yeah, and it's like,
I mean,
it falls
apart. It would have worked if he wasn't accused on the news of being a terrorist.
Well,
if it wasn't for that, smooth sailing.
Well, I feel like Grandma knew. Grandma totally knew.
Yeah. So to back
Grandma
up a
knows
little
everything.
bit, the first night he's there, he gets a text message.
So we should mention that he's a mathematical genius. That's why he's in high school working for the internet as a summer job.
Yeah, he does like this thing. It's like, what date were you born? It's like, July 24th, 1994. It's a Sunday. I figured out using a modulo operation. You know that thing from Pokemon? The modulo operation? That Nikki only knows from Pokemon? So he gets a text message of like 120, like 1256 numbers, and he decodes it and sends it back and breaks the internet.
I think it's like a 2560 encryption code or something.
Right.
I don't know.
2056?
Yes, 2000, something like
this
that.
This exact number is crucial, you guys.
I just should know because it's divisible by, it's like, it's 4 to the power of something.
Yeah, it's a long stream of numbers, just random numbers. That's an encryption code.
Yeah. So this jagoff gets a clearly spam email, and not only does he open it and take it seriously, he solves it and replies to a strange email full of confusing data and a riddle. Like, that should have gone directly in your spam box. You shouldn't have even got notified of that.
I mean,
it's like, I thought it was a brain teaser.
To give him a little bit of credit, it was the middle of the night, so maybe he was just really confused.
Maybe he thought it was a dream.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe he thought he was still in school and it was like homework.
I love this movie. Kenji's a weenie.
But he's a lovely weenie. Like, I love him.
The thing I got from like the first couple of
Nia, you don't love weenies.
But I like him. Okay.
I think I got from the first couple of scenes in this movie is like, okay, so he's some nerdling or fuckboy who's tagging along.
Right?
Who's tagging along with this hot girl, putting himself through a bunch of bullshit that's completely above his head in the vain hope that maybe she'll sit on his face. And I'm like, I don't remember optioning the rights to my freshman year of college to make this movie.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
But Grandma believes in him, and Grandma's not wrong.
No, Granny is just the straight hardest motherfucker you ever came across.
Oh,
love
Grandma's the best character.
I love that like there's like some pictures of her, and there's one really old antique photo of her where she's super young, but she's like mean mugging at the camera.
Yeah, well, it
looks like an Ice Cube album cover.
I mean, it was perfectly placed, and that whole scene was really wonderful. So yeah, he solves this encryption code. Guess what? That was a bad idea, because it was some kind of crazy virus thingy. It turns out it's this crazy AI program, and that code was the security code for the entirety of Oz. So this AI virus has access to the entirety of Oz, and it's just kind of...
So the internet.
The internet.
So everything.
Yeah, and more everything than it already is today in our world.
He hacked the planet. Like that t-shirt
Which
slogan.
includes the motion sensors.
So it starts fucking shit up, and he's like, oh no. And then the news is like, he's a terrorist, and the family's like, what?
Although it turns out he didn't do it.
Yeah, he was one character
off. He got the
off.
last letter wrong.
Yeah, and he wasn't even the only one to do it. Like a bunch of
it was like that was my first thought. Like, this kid wasn't the only one that solved it, and then it turns out he didn't even solve it, and I laughed, pointed and laughed at my laptop at this weenie.
So yeah, and then like they're like, oh fuck, how do we deal with this virus? And then shit's getting crazy, and the world's falling apart, but they're like really isolated in this lovely historical family estate.
In the city
and
of...
their only hope and savior is a 13-year-old shut-in who is way too tan for someone who doesn't go outside.
Yeah,
probably walks home from school.
It's set in the real-life city of Ueda, which I'm trying my best to pronounce that.
Ueda. Yeah, you got it.
So this film was brought about due to the success of The Girl Who Left Through Time, which was also produced by Studio Madhouse. And they're like, we should make another film because it did a good job. And the last film was based on a novel, so they're like, let's make an original movie. Well, turns out it's not 100% original, but you know.
And
So-
Girl Who Leapt Through Time was
What?
also Hosoda.
Yeah, it's the same director. So Hosoda, based this movie off of, our
I mean, like, I
work
feel like it
angle a
wasn't.
little
I feel like "based on" is a bad
Yeah, it's not
phrase
ba-
to use
he-
exactly. It's not so much he based it on; it's that like he had
bit. This concept,
doing.
and he wanted to do it his way more.
Yeah, he was like, doing this movie about Digimon gives me an idea for a different movie about kids stopping the world from ending via the internet and cute animal avatars.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, this is the only, like, as the only person on this podcast who remembers more than, like, a minute total of the Digimon movie, like, they're pretty different.
Yeah. So Hosoda decided he wanted to make a story both for people with family and those without a family. And so they started making the film in 2006. So as we said, the film is set in Ueda.
It's set there.
It was chosen as the primary setting due to it being located in a territory formerly governed by the prominent Sanada clan, which the Junochi family, which is the main family in this movie, is based upon. It's also close to Hosoda's birthplace in Toyama. He said the inspiration for the name of Oz came from a large supermarket that he once visited.
Whoa,
Okay.
Right?
no greater context given?
No, it's while working for Toei Animation, he visited a supermarket, I guess called Oz.
Huh.
I guess it struck with him. So yeah, like we said, Oz's Hosoda has cited influences like Second Life, social networking websites like Mixi. And as for color and design, he cited that artist that we talked about before, Takashi Murakami, as well as Nintendo games. And the family aspect came from an instance where he visited his then fiance's house in Ueda and experienced the history of her family's life during that visit. And then this was his impetus to use this idea of family for this film, based on him being married into a family. So Kenji is almost kind of like him in this situation, where you're like, this is like me becoming a part of this crazy family with this crazy history, and just kind of getting enveloped by it.
And they think I'm a nerdling or fuckboy, and this is hard. They keep playing Hanafuda, which is basically the card game equivalent of Calvin Ball.
It's a really old and confusing game.
I don't think it's real.
But it's why we have Nintendo.
It's real. It's very, very real.
I think it's a prank on
It's
white people.
100% real.
Yeah, that is where Nintendo got their start.
Making
Literally
Hanafuda cards.
over 100 years, 120 years ago, making Hanafuda cards.
Yep.
That's cool.
So yeah, obviously the biggest part of this, I'd say even bigger than the internet stuff, is the family stuff. And that's why I love this movie so much.
Natsuki's family is literally bigger than the internet.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And we don't even get to see the whole thing.
Yeah, right? Like, freaking...
Yeah, there's that scene at the table where she introduces everybody, and it's like, you got that? And everybody's like, no, but
Whatever.
the movie kind of expects you to roll with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just a massive chaos. I only latched onto a couple of them. By the end of it, I knew all the main ones, I feel like. But then, somewhere in the middle of the film, that when they started calling people wait, you're not coming? I was like, wait, this is only half the family? Oh my god!
Yeah, man, family gets
Stop
big.
doing it!
Yeah, almost none of the in-laws were there.
Nope.
Nobody's spouses were there.
Nope.
God.
I mean, it wasn't too bad for me, because I feel like that's my life. On my mom's side of the family, it's been this lifelong catch-up game of trying to realize who all these people are and remember who they are and be like, oh yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Our mother is the youngest of 9 children. It gets whack.
Yeah, so that's why
yeah.
I instantly related to this movie, because I was like, I know this. I know being here's all these people and they're related to you.
I come from the, like, my mother's side of the family is Italian and it's big, but, like, I didn't relate as much as I should have, because I was like, nobody's screaming.
Well, there was a lot of I feel like there was a lot of yelling.
Yeah, but, like, it wasn't as, like, I don't know.
I mean,
It was all very joyous yelling.
well, what about
Mostly about
when
baseball.
Grandma tried to kill Wabisuke with a naginata?
That's when I started to get the picture.
There we go.
I mean, I feel like
But she was sober, so.
I mean, it definitely depends on what your family is like. Because I feel like my dad's family, there might be more screaming, maybe if everybody was still around. But my mom's family, when they all get together, they do get very drunk, but they're all stupid drunks. Like they just
Oh.
They're very boisterous.
yeah, they're very.
Like, I remember the first time I went to Colombia when I was like 5 years old. I'm just like, I'm deaf. There's so much goddamn noise.
No one shuts the fuck up, and everyone's screaming, but like happy screaming. Like
And I don't understand why everybody's so happy, because I don't know what alcohol is.
yeah. So, and I love the family too because it's a really good depiction of it because. At the one hand, they're awesome, but they also fuck shit up too and can be really annoying and like get in the way of this rescue, like trying to save the internet. There's multiple instances where the shitty family is really shitty and is like, let's purposely sabotage this thing. Well, not purposely, but like it just. And that's what family is like. That's like what it's like when you live with people. They just kind of like burst in at the worst moment possible and you have to deal with it. But then at the same time, you're like, you're all in it together and you love each other and I don't know. I feel like it's a very good depiction of a very large family if you aren't familiar with that kind of experience because the first time I watched this film was in my club and I had those initial reactions and I was sharing it with some of the people there and they're like, I don't really have a family or a big family, so I don't know what you're talking about.
My parents are dead.
That's basically what I felt like, and I was like, well, you just saw the movie, so now you do. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't really relate to it, so it didn't really mean anything to me. The Digimon movie was better, and I was like, okay.
The Digimon was not better. At least not like no, it wasn't better because like like this movie is like is our war game fleshed out into a legitimate feature length concept.
Yeah.
And like it was a short. It had no time to
Actually,
really do anything.
It was feature length in the original Japanese, but we never saw that.
I'm pretty sure it was still short. It wasn't feature length.
Well, I'm looking that up.
Yeah, but I feel like
because the first few Digimon movies ran alongside the first couple. They were double features with the One Piece movies. So they weren't as long because they double featured them.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas this is 2 hours.
and like
a lot more room to breathe.
And you don't necessarily have to relate to it because part of it is just like getting swept up in the craziness of it all and part of the whole message is if you don't have a big giant family, that doesn't mean you can't later in life find a big giant family. I mean,
yeah, if you don't relate to Natsuki, at least relate to Kenji because he was just lost in a sea of people. Like he literally basically lives at home because both of his parents work. He just lives on his own more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there was that first night of him there, and I'm like, oh man, this is actually really stressful for me. Can we please go back to the super internet?
Because it was very real. Because you're thrown in those situations and like. Us growing up, me and Nikki, even though we have such a large family, we lived pretty much isolated from them for most of our childhood because we moved around a lot. So whenever we did get to meet them, it was a lot like what it was for Kenji, where it was like, here's this person, here's this person, and here's this person,
yeah, it's the entire goddamn family at once.
And you're like, I didn't even know you existed, and you want me to say...
Yeah. But when
why are you talking to me like you've met me before? I hate this.
But since Kenji's not related to them, he managed to go through that without the whole, oh, you probably were too young to remember me.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
I was a fetus.
I was a fetus.
I'm pronouncing it how I assume the British spelling is pronounced.
Okay, so let's see if we can go through some of like the main, not the entire goddamn family, but like the people that stuck out the most. There's Kazuma, obviously.
My fave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The opposite of a weenie.
yeah, he is the opposite of a weenie. Kazuma is
A
the
pussy?
So Kazuma is known as King Kazuma in Oz, and he's like the champion fighter because this Oz is also a fighting game.
That sure sounds like a username a 13-year-old came up with.
Yeah. And like he has his whole arc that he goes through in the movie. At first he's like this shut-in, he's not like really paying attention to everybody in the family, kind of like how Nicky was when he was 7 and he first went to Colombia and he just spent the whole time playing Super Nintendo until the power
Me too,
went.
whenever I had large If I was at a family gathering that took place in my home, they only saw me for 45 minutes. I was back up in my room immediately. I was like, oh, yep. Yeah.
I brought my Super Nintendo to Colombia. No, I brought my games and like my cousin lent me his Super Nintendo, and then I mostly just played Super Nintendo the whole time.
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't have a good attitude, but I was 5. What do you want from me?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. But then he like comes out of his shell and becomes this really important player in like the taking back of Oz. Then we have the best character, Sakai, the grandmother.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll just call her Grandma.
I think it's Sakai.
Sakai? I don't know. Bachan. Bacha. I don't know. Whatever.
Bachan.
Grandma, the best person ever in the history of forever. It's her 90th birthday, or it's leading up to her 90th birthday, and she's definitely like she's the matriarch of this family. Like, she holds everybody together. She, like, makes sure everyone's got their shit in line, but she's not, like, a bitch or anything. She's just, like, this really strong but kind lady. I don't know. Like, she's the kind of woman I've always wished I could have met. Like, I always wished I could have met one of my own grandmothers. Because a lot of the stories that I hear about them is that they were kind of similar. Like, they were just these amazing people who just everybody gravitated to, and they, kept everything going. And, like, I always really wanted to encounter somebody like that and, like, get to experience what it's like to be around somebody like that.
Also, important foreshadowing for her, like her backstory, like the family's whole backstory is like her. They come from like old, super duper old money, and she was like the last, like she ran the business or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then her husband, like fucked off with all the money.
Yeah, pretty much.
But like during that time, she accrued, but they were still well off because she just accrued so many contacts. Like she gets Christmas cards from like the most important people in the world and shit like that.
Yeah.
And like at first it's just like, oh wow, that's a really neat fact, but it's important to the plot. We'll get to it.
Yeah, she's tough.
She's a tough old broad.
Oh yo, and then we got
Wabisuke.
Wabisuke, who's the black sheep sort of.
Wikipedia describes him as handsome and sardonic.
I'm trying to think of the word where you're like cut off from the family, like you're the outcast. Estranged.
My uncle.
His situation is confusing because he is the illegitimate son of the grandmother's husband, but she, being the most awesome lady ever, adopted him as her own kid. And he turned out to be a really like gifted, intelligent guy, but he ran off with the last of the family fortune to America to get like a computer science degree. And he hasn't been back in 10 years until now for the 90th birthday. And things get very unpleasant. And, the wonderful familial awkwardness of just like, there's always that one person that makes everybody unhappy.
Just that one guy. He's just being in the room, it's awkward.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, though, because throughout the whole movie, Natsuki they refer to him as Natsuki's uncle. He's actually her half-granduncle.
Yeah.
So, he is her grunkle. Grunkle Wabisuke.
And she's got a crush on him.
gross.
Or she had a crush on him, like.
Well, yeah,
growing
it was one of those childhood things that's not gross. Because kids don't know.
Kids don't know a
about
goddamn
the
thing.
gross things.
She still really likes him though, and like seems to want to hang out with him all the times.
Yeah.
Because he's a cool dude who probably, I don't know, smokes.
Probably.
Smoking's cool. Don't do it.
It's
kids.
like
Don't be
the
cool.
scene with the little girl where she's like, "What are you looking at?" Women with
And
big boobs.
and he's just like big-breasted women.
And she's like, "What did you do in America?" "I was a ninja." Like, he's that kind of guy. And this kid is like less than 5. I don't know.
It's got all the like Wikipedia also has the entire family tree, but I don't know which kid that is because they run the gamut from less than 1 to like 13.
Yeah, we don't have to cover everything. Another character that stands out is Mansuke, which is the fisherman guy,
The sunburnt guy.
sunburnt fisherman guy.
Yeah, Kazuma's grandpa.
Yeah.
There's a
calls him master.
There's a Mansuke and a Mansaku, so
Yeah, Mansaku and a Mansuke.
this is too tough.
Well, a lot of the names are actually sort of plays, like they're like playful. Like all of the sons of Katsuhiko and Yumi, all their sons end in hei, so it's Ryohei, Yuhei, and Kyohei, and then all of Mansaku's sons end in Hiko, so it's Yorihiko, Norihiko, Kunihiko, and Katsuhiko. So they have a lot of little language games with their names.
Yeah, all of grandma's kids have MA. It's Manzo, Mariko, Mansuke, and Mansaku.
Yeah. So it's a very playful little family tree thing going on.
Naming characters is hard,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of them.
there is. And we're not going to talk about all of them, but
But let's continue to go through the list.
yeah, let's see. Who else was neat? What was her name?
I liked Shota.
Shota, yeah. Oh.
He was loud and a cop, but a cool
And his
guy.
face was never like a regular person face.
He always looked like he had to poop,
Yeah.
and he was super mad about it. Mad about them poops.
And who was the mother who had the son that was the baseball player?
Yumi.
Yumi.
Yeah. Yeah, is the whole time this is going on, it's like the finals of a
High school baseball game.
That's like such a weird thing from an American's perspective, is like how big high school baseball is in Japan, but like I guess I get it after thinking about it.
I mean, like, it also might depend on, because I'm sure there in some states high school baseball is televised.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not nationally.
Oh, was it national?
Baseball in high school baseball in Japan is a national. It's like NCAA here. It's like it's like Final Four.
Dang.
It's a huge fucking deal. And I don't know, maybe they don't do sports at the collegiate level. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. And, you know, the whole baseball tournament, like, is sort of like a parallel to the plot that's going on within the family and within the internet and stuff.
Yeah, I super dug it, although by the end of the film I was like, wow, it's sure great that the entire world almost ended, but they didn't fucking cancel this game or bring it up at all.
It was a 15-inning game.
Yeah, like there's the one game, it's like for the first bunch of innings he was pitching a no-hitter, and then both teams started hitting like 30 runs.
Oh, God. Like, these games were insane, and he had played, like...
And like he was the only pitcher.
He was the only pitcher, and he had just pitched the previous game, which was the day before, and then he pitched a 15-inning game.
He pitched
In the fucking summer heat. He
pitched like a total of 27 innings in 2 days.
He fucking...
So he lived his own way just as dramatic sports movie while we were waiting for the fucking bomb to drop out of the sky.
Yeah,
We
pretty
saw
much.
just like glimpses of
The
a
most-
sports
The
anime.
greatest sports film we'll never see.
Pretty much. And then he came home to find out that...
His grandma died.
Grandma. He was so sad. But by the time the rest of the family had been through so much that they pretty much already went through the mourning
Yeah, they
process,
were-
so it was super awkward for
Yeah,
everyone.
the rest of them were like, they were feeling kind of good because they saved the internet, and then Ryohei comes back and he's like, what do you mean grandma's dead? I'm the baseball champion. I wanted to share this with my grandma who I love.
And then all the other people were like in black, and they were just like, happy birthday! And, you know, it was really cute, though. It really got...
Yeah, because they got through the morning and they were like at the point where they're celebrating her life instead of mourning her death.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, my arm hurts so bad and my grandma's dead.
My now freakishly overly muscular asymmetrical arm.
I've got my bicep is 30 inches, but all my tendons are torn. I can't move it.
I have that wrist surgery that professional baseball players get like tomorrow. I have to get it.
I don't think, like, that is way too intense. Like, fuck, he might not be able to pitch again. Like, he probably fucked his arm up forever. Anyway, the computer virus sort of, like, continues to grow, and it takes all these really cool forms, and, like...
It digivolves.
Yeah, it digivolves, and it's like this... We find out that it's an AI program that Wabisuke actually created while he was in America and ended up selling to the United States government, who decided that they would release it onto the Oz as a test run.
Literally, they're just like, let's see what this does. Click. Oh, shit.
Oh, no boy.
That was a bad idea.
They almost were able to stop it before it did anything crazy, but then the shitty kids came in and were like, what's that? I want to see. Like, because there's like a bunch of little, because there's all different ages in this house, so there's like a couple little kids, and it's towards the beginning when Kenji and Kazuma are like addressing the situation, but then the little kids come in and like cause Kazuma to lose his battle, and then things get really bad, and they just continue to get bad. And then they
basically this like I was explain why it's bad. The AI is stealing people's accounts and amassing like more power by stealing people's avatars and identities, and just like getting more power and influence through that. Because the thing is programmed to collect data, and this is how it's choosing to do it.
Yeah, and it's an effective way to do it because it gives it all these abilities. So say you steal the account of a waterworks person. Now you have control of the waterworks in whatever city they happen to have influence over. Say you steal the account of a politician. You can do a lot of crazy stuff with that.
You can find all the interns they were doing stuff with.
So then they're like, okay, fuck, what do we do? Grandma decides she's gonna help. Okay, so things start getting really bad. There's traffic everywhere. Nobody can come to the party because everything is backed up. All the emergency alarms are going off. So, like, a lot of the three of the sons in one of the branch families, they're all firefighters. So they're spending the whole day just going from place to place with false alarms.
Because they're like, one of them could be real.
Yeah, and then there's
this is our job.
And a lot of old elderly people's like pacemakers are going off, and all this crazy shit is happening. And it's insane, and it's chaos, and nobody can move or do anything. So Grandma decides that this is war, and they have an enemy, and they need to do something about it. So she breaks out the old dial telephone and calls every single human being in Japan and tells them to do a good job. And then she believes them.
Like, everyone of influence.
Everyone that she knows, which is a lot of people. She calls every single person, and it's like, get your act together, you can do it, I believe in you, and almost single-handedly prevents any casualties from happening during this crazy...
I like how she knows how to talk to each individual person, because some of them she's like, you can do it, but then she'll like call up some other person, she'll be like, get off your ass and do something, or like, don't fucking talk to me like that. It was the best montage.
Stop living in the past, it was 40 years ago that I punched you in the mouth.
Oh god, she's the best. But it makes her a target to the AI program. Because it's kind of subtle, but like, I don't know, it's not that subtle, but like, the AI program's trying to fuck stuff up, and it notices that she's actually making a difference, or like this family is making a difference. Because this family symbol is on the back of her kimono that she's wearing, and like the AI zooms in on it and is like, that's the thing. So, we mentioned it before, but Grandma dies. And Grandma dies because she's been kind of sick, which is why Natsumi did the whole lie about... Or not Natsumi, Natsuki did the whole lie about, I have this fiance thing, because she was worried her grandma was going to be really sick and she'd never get to see her again, and she wanted to, like, make her sure that she was okay. But the AI program fucks up her like heart monitor thing, so that her doctor, which is actually a member of the family, couldn't tell what was going on. So she ended up passing away in the middle of the night, even though it was 100% preventable. But because the technology was like inhibited, there was nothing they can do in time. So then the family like completely unravels because they've lost their center, you know, and they don't have anybody to tell them what they should be doing. Because it's, you know, it's like you lose this important person, and the only person who can fix what's happening to everybody is the person that you lose. You know, it's like that line from like the Grand Adventure, Pooh's Grand Adventure. You know, it's like, we need Christopher Robin, but the only one that can help us find Christopher Robin is Christopher Robin. It's like, it's that feeling of like, we need this person, but they're the only one that can help us with the fact that they're no longer there, but they're not there. And it's insane, and everybody's grieving in their own different way. And all the men decide they're going to take revenge on the AI. So they pool together their awesome collective resources. And get this.
They steal a computer the size of a car. Like a van.
They borrowed it.
Like this little 13-year-old kid's just like, I need a better computer than this laptop. And he brings him that!
Is this gonna do it?
And
I guess.
And then the fisherman guy's like, here's my boat with all the lights. All the electricity.
It's got a boat generator on it.
A boat generator.
I put my boat on a truck and drove it, and I'm like, kind of power...
I'm out of ideas.
I'm kind of power crazy
nothing
right now.
Oh, man.
The one guy steals some military equipment. It's like, what branch of the military do you work for? The one I can't tell you about.
I just love how gingerly he puts his hand on his face and is like, you kids don't even know.
Because, I know that
I've seen so much.
Japan's military consists only of an equivalent of a National Guard, which I think was called the Self-Defense Corps.
The Self-Defense Force.
Self-Defense Force. I love that bit. It was like, we protect others by protecting ourselves, or maybe it's the other way around. It's like,
we protect ourselves by protecting others.
Is that the motto of the Self-Defense Corps? No. It's from Seven Samurai. That was my favorite goof in the movie.
Yeah.
Good goof. So they have a brand new plan. They have all this equipment. It's going great. But then, again, family shit gets in the way. And they take all the ice from the computer motherboard generator room and move it.
Yeah, they set up a bunch of ice to keep it cool. And then this guy...
Shota, the dickhead cop, is like, I need to protect this dead-ass body. Mm.
I mean, to be fair, after it had been like a day, I was like, how long is it gonna...
It was really hot. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same day, but it was really hot. And,
And people can get real, real stinky. I mean, she was already 89 years old, so she probably already had a smell.
But then, when bodies die, they,
void.
They, soil themselves.
And the gases start building up in her tummy.
Yeah, it gets really gross. So, half of the family is like, we don't have time for this shit. We just lost the most important member of our family, and we have to take care of the funeral, So they kind of have, a divide between the family. But then the virus AI... Oh, we haven't mentioned the name of the program yet. It's called Love Machine.
Love Machine.
Yeah, I love that, the United States government bought it and didn't change the name to something macho that, a 13-year-old, that would appeal to a 13-year-old boy, all of their names.
Yep. Yeah, it sounds more like a freaking JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stand. Because they're usually all, after a while, they're just all named after songs and shit.
So, they lose. King Kazuma got served once again. Kazuma has taken a really big, personal hit. Things are looking really bad.
Because this is, the one thing he's good at. There's a brief moment where he's he used to be bullied a lot, and then Sunburned Man taught him
His grandpa.
His grandpa taught him a martial art, which made him good at virtual martial arts, which, I mean, like...
I mean, it means you know how to fight. I mean, it seems like you can...
Also, he's playing this like fighting game on a keyboard, so I don't even know how the controls work.
Yeah.
I mean...
He's typing words to do everything. Yeah. What is the interface of Oz like?
So maybe he's being like left hook, dodge, I don't know.
I once tried playing Street Fighter on an emulator, and it's impossible. You can't do a Hadouken with fucking arrow keys. Cannot be done. So who knows how this shit works. Well, I do like the idea that, you know, him being good at martial arts made him good at this fighting game. So it's like, if I want to be better at Smash Brothers, maybe I should go out and, like, practice jumping 8 times my height.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is I'm going to break both of my goddamn legs, and then all I can do is play Smash Brothers, so I guess it'll work.
Well, I was going to say you might already have a step on being good at Smash Brothers, because that game is essentially just a fucking mosh pit.
Well,
kind of.
I mean, not in the competitive play, but it's just one and all this other boring shit.
Yeah.
The metagame. Moving on. Before we fall down that hole.
Wave dash.
So then the AI decides he's gonna have more fun and fucking... Oh, yeah, meanwhile, there's so many things happening at once. Meanwhile, a satellite, there was a error in it launching into orbit, so they were gonna just kind of... It was gonna come to Earth, but they were gonna control its land and probably chuck it in the ocean or something. Well... The AI gets control of the GPS for that satellite, essentially giving it control of an asteroid/missile from space. And it opens up all these different nuclear power plants. And they're all like real power plants. There's one in China, one in France, one in the US, 2 in the US, you know, a bunch of actual real images or sky images of power plants, and it's gonna shoot this fucking thing at a nuclear power plant and explode it and fucking destroy everything. And they have 2 hours to stop it?
Yep. Oh, the countdown timer is also from Digimon.
Yeah. So everybody's like, oh no. And by this point, the rest of the family realizes that this shit is real. And they can't.
Yeah, one of them is literally like, "Wait, this is real? Like this? You aren't making this up and just fucking around? Like, did you think?"
That's what family's like, man.
They stole a military vehicle satellite thing.
You thought we did this as a goof?
They destroyed a property on their home to get all this shit in.
And and they found Grandma's will around this time, which was just the kick in the pants that they needed. And you guys, I was a blubbering baby during the whole scene when they read the will.
Yeah, I cried.
I couldn't not. I was like, I could do this. I was like, I can't. I just snot, gross, ugly crying. It was, oh my God, this Grandma. And most of the letter, she just talked about Wabisuke and how he's great.
Yeah, it seems weird how much time she spent just talking about Wabisuke, but there's kind of a whole redemption thing going on there for him. When he found out, he fucking tore the lever off and drove his fancy car all the way back at 300 miles an hour, broke every bone in his body.
She has an amazing line, the worst things in this world are being hungry and being alone. And that's what she wanted to feed him. And when he first arrived, the first thing she asked him is if he was hungry.
Yeah, no, that did it for me.
Yeah, and part of the will is when I die, you guys all gotta eat a big meal together. They're just cramp slamming this meal. It's we have to eat this meal because Graham said so, but we also have to hurry because we're gonna explode.
Oh, so beautiful. Oh, I can't. The best character ever.
okay, so they end up the climax of the dang film.
Because Natsuki managed. She called Wabasuke to tell him about Grandma. So he came back, and because he made the damn thing, they're like, okay, now we have a fighting chance because the guy who made it is on our side. So let's see what we're gonna do. And the climax is centered around the Hanafuda card game. They decide that because the thing really likes games, apparently, but it's also really bad at them, so it has to cheat, they challenge it to a Hanafuda game by betting all of their user accounts. And so, like, the main climax is based around this game that I don't understand.
Yeah,
you guys don't understand.
Something about koi.
Koi.
Koi. But apparently the rest of in the far off future of 2010, the rest of the world knows Hanafuda because everybody was coining that motherfucker.
I know. I was like, how does everybody?
Because like, there's a bit where like they're gambling with people's accounts to try to get them all back, and like there's a point where she runs out of too many accounts to make a bet. So like some German kid's like, "Ach, you can take mine.
I'm Spartacus.
You can take mine account." Yeah, it was a very I'm Spartacus moment.
Because then everybody who still had their accounts in the whole ding dang world like backed her up and like bet their accounts for her, and I also cried during that too.
Yeah,
but like I imagine like there are some Japanese people who's like, oh man, she's doing really good at this game, and then everybody else in the world is like, oh man, I hope we're gonna be okay.
I sure hope this is going
It
well.
makes it even more suspenseful because I'm like, I have no idea what's happening until it says that she won the round or whatever.
I'm gonna shout koi when they shout koi. Do it with me so I don't look dumb.
And then the guardians of Oz, John and Yoko.
The whale. They're big space whales in the internet.
Yeah.
They never ever give it any context. I guess that are they like admin avatars? Or are they just literally whales in the game?
They might be admin avatars. They might be like.
They're just sort of floating there doing nothing.
They might be like actual characters that exist within the game. I don't know.
They're like big pink and blue Clippy the paper clips.
They're super cute, and they bestow upon her magical girl sequence costume change because it's cool. Who cares? There's a lot of emotions happening right now.
She digivolved,
and then she does the most epic card throwdown ever with the power of everyone. I guess, like, I don't know.
Eat your heart out, every single Yu-Gi-Oh protagonist. She beat you.
Pretty much. And they win. And they managed to...
They won. They did it.
They did it. Everybody's like, yeah. Everybody, like, builds up their yata. They're like, yata. And it's like, oh, we did it. And they managed to break it down to 2 accounts. Kenji's original account and one other account, which turns out to be the account that has the control of the GPS satellite. So the countdown starts again, and now the satellite is aiming for their house. Specifically their dog.
He's pissed. Oh yeah, when it zoomed in on the dog, I was like, no, he didn't do anything!
All he did was tell everybody what happened to Grandma.
Poor little Sheev.
So they have like 14 minutes left on the clock?
See, that's how you knew that there was a different thing coming, because they managed to save the world with 14 whole minutes to spare, and that doesn't happen.
No. So Kazuma gets back on his feet, sporting a new look. Luffy punches the shit out of what's left of the AI and kills it. Not before. It still has, like, the encryption code key thing, and it's, like, changing all the encryptions because Kenji is like, no, we don't have to evacuate. I can do this. I can redirect the thing. I can do this. We're not going to give up.
With math!
So, he's trying to get past all these walls that thing is building up for him with, all these different encryption codes. And each one he solves even faster than the last one. And then he gets to the last one, and he's, like, at his wit's end. He's done, like, 3 of these damn things.
And he's got, like, hard. 90 seconds.
Yeah. So he has his crowning moment of, good job, You did it. You're not so much of a weenie at this particular moment in your life, where he does the whole damn thing in his fucking head. And I really love the way that they animate it, where, like, at first his eyes are just, like, going in all directions, and you think he gave up, like, he just physically can't compute anymore.
I didn't think anything. I had no idea what was wrong with this child. I was so worried. I was like, what's wrong with his eyeball? Oh my god. And then someone's like, he's doing it in his head, and I was like, oh.
And then his nose starts bleeding from the sheer mental stress, because he's transforming his brain into a computer, because I don't even know if that's possible. It's not for me. And he does it in his head.
Like, you're choosing to not, like, nah, I'll sit this one out.
I'm not even gonna look at all these numbers. Like, there's only 10 different numerals. I get it.
Pretty much, like, is that even a physical possible feat for a human being, though? Like, is that something they do in the Math Olympics?
I still don't fully understand exactly how does writing down the same numbers he just read on the paper, what was he doing? I don't understand.
Well, he wasn't writing down all the numbers. The first encryption message, it begins with the words, the magic words are squeamish osfrage, which is a text of a famous cryptography puzzle. So, like, I guess there's a pattern to these kind of puzzles.
Yeah, like, I don't understand. Hopefully there's some, like, cool, hip YouTube video, like, the science behind whatever, pop culture shit that explained the science, and maybe they'll do something on Summer Wars.
It's a kind of cipher. It's like...
I don't know how ciphers work, though.
Yeah, it's just... The difficulty of breaking the RSA cipher, recovering a plain text message given as cipher text in the public key, is connected to the difficulty of factoring large numbers. While it is not known whether the two problems are mathematically equivalent, factoring is currently the only method of directly breaking RSA. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Boing.
I don't know. You take the number, you figure out what are the right numbers, and you do things to the numbers, and you get letters. Okay. He did that in his brain. It was impressive to me.
Oh, no, I was impressed.
I was like... But I love, like, he was still so, like, Japanese at the end, where it was like, do you want to do the thing? And he's like, very much yes, please! Like, he said, like, the most polite, formal way of please and yes.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the thing. That's, like, the first thing I learned in Japan. Like, if you're not blood related or the closest fucking bond two human beings can have, you better end every single damn sentence in, like, please or thank you very much or something.
But he's talking to a computer, and he's got 90 seconds till everything blows up and his brain just exploded. And he still does it.
Yep, that was really great.
So they managed to redirect it a little bit. So instead of crashing in the house, it crashes, like, out in the fence. So it destroys, like, the front of the property, but that's not where they are, so they're okay. And it turns out there was a hot spring underneath that fence the whole time. So now the family's got a new business. Hooray.
I demand a spin-off about sitcom hot spring shenanigans.
There is a spin-off about King Kazuma.
Huh?
That too.
Yeah, that already exists.
Give me that one. Give me that one.
Look it up. It's there. I think it's a manga all about, like, the origins of King Kazuma.
I assume he doodled it in the margin of his notebook in, like, geometry or something. When he was, like, 8.
I don't know. So, yeah.
Place your bets.
Now that we've summarized the entirety of the plot...
With commentary.
With commentary.
This is so far, this is the closest you'll get to a Toon Goons riff.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it's very hard to talk about this movie because it's all about the emotions that you feel when you're experiencing it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I guess, like, if you already saw the movie and you're listening to us now, you're like, I was there. I remember.
Yeah, that was great. So I guess, like, what did we all come away from this experience with?
I mean, I like this movie. I don't think it affected me as much as it did you guys, but I don't have anything bad to say about it.
I was surprised. Like, well, for like my initial response was like like I mentioned before, I was surprised at how different it was from Digimon. Like, I didn't even notice a lot of like shot for shot parallels. Like, there wasn't even any of that. Like, it's very much its own beast. Its own digital monster.
There it is.
And also I really I can't even put it into words because it's just like it's.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very like a Disney movie almost, like a classic Disney movie where if you think about it, you're like, okay, a lot of this is kind of dumb and it doesn't make sense, and the whole foundation of this plot is a little shaky because it's like, why would the U.S. government do that and think it was a good idea and they could get away with it? Well, okay, maybe that's not too far-fetched, but...
No, that's actually not.
And
I'm
also
like, at the end, it's like, it turns out it was the Pentagon's fault, and I'm like, okay, that of fucking course. And
well,
like,
they did
obviously
say
they're
that
not
nobody died, and I was like, Grandma died!
And it's like...
Also, like, I'm 120% positive, like, hundreds... If it's not reported, like, people died.
People must have died. There's no way no one died.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And also, the Pentagon was not held accountable, whatever. It's like, we're the Pentagon. What are you gonna do?
Yep. Do something. It just kept me invested on, like, several emotional levels. Like, the drama was tense. The family scenes were touching. Even, like, I didn't like, Kazuma was super neat, and
I loved his karate rabbit.
He was a weenie. Yeah. I'm all about this karate rabbit. I wish there was more of him, but that would defer from the actual point of the movie, which was family.
It was all about family. And I love stuff about family.
Yep.
It's great. I mean, the only...
And then he got a smooch on the cheek because he bled out his face again.
Yeah, it's like, that happened, I'm like, okay. You have to have one terrible anime thing in this movie.
I mean, he is prone to nosebleeds, though. That's been established.
I mean, he did probably just have an aneurysm.
I mean,
So his blood is not...
I mean, I got that he just had the aneurysm, but like, when else did he nosebleed?
No, that's what I meant.
Yeah, like, he had his aneurysm, and like,
he was probably still bleeding from that same thing.
Yeah, he hadn't recovered yet. I mean, there were still tissues in his nose when they were doing the funeral, so it was just a few moments later. It wasn't that much later in the day. So, he was already kind of... I mean, he probably broke his brain permanently, because
He probably died a week after the movie ended.
I mean, look, his eyes...
Yeah, it's like the lenses of his eyes just like became dislodged.
Yeah, how messed up would it be? Like, it's the same exact movie, but that entire last scenes up to like past the funeral, are just like one of his eyes is like just like red,
or one of his eyes is like a Muppet googly eye, and it's just like
it's just completely looking the other way.
I thought he was gonna like die at the end, like fuck, I'm gonna remember that guy's name. John Henry. Like, he did it, but he died in the process.
Oh, right. The railroad riveter
Yeah, the guy who,
proved he was better than the machine.
Yeah, he destroyed a mountain with his bare hands and a pickaxe, and then his heart exploded.
The greatest folktale America has.
But anyway, like, this movie just makes you feel...
Feelings.
All the feelings that you want to feel when you sit down to watch a movie.
Because it's like the plot was very basic. Every plot element was very basic, and in a way you've seen it all before. But it was brought together in a very original, unique, charming way.
And I finished watching it last night, and I was just like, all misty and sweaty.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that you just know that it's like anytime you're just like you don't have anything to watch, like that's gonna be in your list of like, I guess I'll watch this again because it's just so great, and you can just sit down and just enjoy the shit out of it.
But like, I feel like it's a good movie to watch with your family too, because like it's not too anime-y, I don't think. And I mean, not to like dismiss that stuff, but like, because the themes are so universal and the pacing is so, spot on, like good movie pacing, anybody can enjoy it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of cultural dissonance because all the cultural stuff that is there is like a lot of old timey Japanese stuff that Westerners are familiar with. Like, oh yeah, that house looks totally Japanese.
Yeah, like, oh, she was
Yeah.
in the war. Okay, I mean, she grew up during the war, whatever. Like, I mean, it's interesting, like how, like I remember my one of my aunts was like, "Why are you so interested in that Japanese stuff? They're like the opposite of us." And I was like,
Oh, what does that mean?
I don't know. This aunt sucks.
and I was like, because she was saying, well, they're all like, they're very formal and serious and whatever. And and I'm like, obviously watching this movie, it's not like when you have a big family, it doesn't really matter where you're from or what your culture is. Like, it's kind of the same. It really is.
Absolutely.
It's like nothing else. It's like it's so warm and inviting, but like confusing and frustrating at the same time. It's a really interesting experience to be part of a collective, if you've never had it before. And it's
If you're not currently in a hive mind,
yeah.
family's the next closest thing. You will be assimilated every Christmas.
And I don't know, like I haven't really, I've definitely never seen an anime about stuff like this before. And you don't see too many shows or about like really big families. If it's about family, it's usually about like a broken family or finding family we've never had family before. But
Yeah, the entire shonen genre is here's a kid, his dad's a dick, his mom's probably dead or she'll never appear, and here's all his friends that are his new family now.
yeah,
And I mean, there's a reason for that. It's hard to write a big family.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to know a big family or
And it's just like a lot of characters. Like, it's just more people to flesh out. I mean, the reason why so many of these stories have like only one parent and the other's dead or missing or whatever is because it's like if the parents aren't the focus, then writing two of them is extraneous, and it can be seen as lazy, but like it's a corner to cut. So what you're doing here is like taping on a lot of corners.
yeah. Well, interestingly enough, our two main characters, neither of their parents are in the movie either. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, wasn't that?
Oh shit! Yeah, he's the shonen protagonist.
Yeah, and then her parents don't show up until the very end, and they're like, "Hi, daughter. Hi, parents." Like,
And then the family that's his family now was a family on its own before.
yeah,
It fits and it doesn't. This is the perfect thing.
and it's like
this Summer Wars is perfect.
it's a real thing that happens. Sometimes whether you get married to somebody or not, or maybe you make friends with somebody and you become part of their family. Like, it happens all the time. You don't have to be born into a big family to one day like amass yourself a big family.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I'm close. Like some of my close friends have sometimes like invited me to like family shit. They're like, "Hey, you want to come over and hang out when my family's here or whatever? It's a cookout or whatever. It's a dinner and like whatever." And like I show up and I basically have that moment where it's like I don't know any of these people, but everybody's having a good time and seems to enjoy my company. So whatever, let's just go with it.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
I like
All
it.
right, let's start wrapping this up.
Okay.
Totally recommend this movie. It's great and it's good.